I'm on these streets hustling. That's what you do. Not look sympathy from people. Good morning.
Sandy, good morning. I don't know if I'm on the show, but somebody called and said Frank have Summer McField as um his father's account. That is not true. And half of the thing that people thought, Frank
Mm-hmm.
have no grudge towards you and
Mm-hmm.
towards nobody. And this is what people do not understand. Moreover, Frank is very not up to date with technology about farming any account or anything. He's like the old
Where
schooler.
is
Don't
Frank?
know
Is
about technology.
Sylvana? Let me ask you a question. Is Frank there with you?
Yeah, he's
Well,
right here. He can talk.
let me speak to Frank. Frank can speak for himself.
I don't know what happened this morning.
Good morning, cousin Frank. I'm sure you're more
Good
than
morning.
capable of speaking eloquently for yourself. So let's talk about it.
Well, I mean, I wrote Johan and I said, how come Sandy is saying that there are no one block from her account, and I know
That's not what
definitely
I,
I'm
but that
not.
isn't what I said. I said people don't get blocked for sharing a difference of opinion. They get
Okay.
blocked for other things. That's what I've been saying all morning.
No, but
And
I mean,
and I don't
you were in
even
the
know if you remember why you got blocked at this stage, because it's been a minute. Am I
no,
right?
no,
You probably don't remember.
no, no. Well, I mean, the point is it's not all that important to me in terms of being blocked from any show because my opinions, Sandy, I'm at 75 years in a different position than most people are in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to I don't have to suffer in the country. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, and whatever it is that I have done, I always, I did that always because I felt it was fair
Mm-hmm.
to do. And my history in this country got bad because I attacked corruption. So I do have a lot of respect for you because that is what I see you doing.
Mm-hmm.
That is, but we don't take everything just with one swipe. We have to look at everything uh, you know completely.
Mm-hmm.
So there are issues that I have had with you as well. And I remember going and telling cousin Rennie that I think that you do a good job because I have to admit that you do a good job in many instances. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that everybody's going to be right about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel that where people go wrong
Mm-hmm.
is when they start saying things about other people that is private,
Mm.
that has to do with their character, that other people have decided upon and has nothing to do with the person's character themselves. When people are talking about me,
Mm-hmm.
they're talking about me as if I wasn't an abused child, as if I didn't come back here more or less welcoming that abuse or the continuation of that abuse because that's what happened. I have been abused for 46 years since I returned in 77. And not just by small people, but by big people as well. And why? Because I put myself in the position to be abused because I do not tolerate injustices against people who are defenseless. And
Mm-hmm.
I stood up for that when I came home and I said we needed early childhood education. I said our family systems are broken. I wrote play about our family system being broken. I said
Mm-hmm.
if we cannot build our family system, how are we going to build our community system? If we can't build our community system, how can we build a national unity system, a nation system? All of those things the British government was aware of with the Prosser report that was done before I came back.
Mm-hmm.
How this country has been able to hide the corruption, I just don't know. But this country is so damn corrupt, it's impossible to explain. And I do
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the fact that you keep attacking it and attacking it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not on a different side than you're at because I come from a history that personal history that is very much like yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I see people laughing at us all the time. And sometimes they're laughing with us because we are very bright and brave people in our family. But we, at the same time, we have our family issues, which I think that once they're analyzed, it shows us why Caymanians can't get along together, because it's misunderstanding, and everybody participates in making the misunderstanding worse rather than better. We are not treating the problem. And
so let
when
me ask you a question, Frank, because I feel like we might actually have a bit of a breakthrough this morning between you and I. You know, we've been bucking heads for a minute, because, you know, I'm the type of person who is not going to, I don't believe in taking any prisoners. And so if you come for me, I can take it just as good as I can give it. And so that is what it is. I think maybe we both have very, very, what's the word that I'm looking for in my vernacular? We both have very, very sort of personalities that are going to go for the jugular. The difference is, I think, from my opinion, what you have done when you decided to go for the jugular is you've actually printed and posted information that is absolutely not true, not so much about me, but about my family. And there is an off limits, right? There is an area. I mean, I take a lot of criticism and whatever, but for me, there's certain things that are off limits, right? Don't touch my child. It's the only one I got. And don't touch my husband, because he is, most people can't even walk in that man's shoes. He's such a good person.
Yeah. Well, let me say something right here. I never wrote that. And I'm going to admit that this morning. I didn't write that. Somebody else wrote that. Okay. And I apologize for the fact that I got mixed up in somebody else's beef. I would really call it now with you. Because
so all that stuff that you posted, you didn't write?
No, I don't write that fast anyway. I'm dyslexic.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Because I mean, it accused me of things like trying to take down an airline, which I don't even know what that's about. I was like, I don't even know what that's supposed to be, but.
Well, you know that those are kind of things that, you know, I'm not going to know about.
I mean, I don't. Well, I was wondering, because it's not even true, so I don't even know where that came from.
Well,
but you know,
I don't bother. I don't go into people's
So why would you put that on your page and leave it pinned at the top of your page for the longest time, trying to attack and discredit me with stuff that isn't true? Listen, Frank, I'm not a perfect person. There are things that you could actually find about me that I've done to try to discredit me that would make more sense.
Whatever I wrote there, I wrote things also myself at some particular point. It wasn't all that was not written. But what I wrote had to do with what I know and what I believe. What the other person wrote, that's a completely different story. I believe a lot of what the other person was saying, and therefore I did not hinder them using my whatever network or whatever to my page to do that. Because I also feel, I mean, I don't feel that you're a perfect person. I don't feel that I don't understand also what your agenda is. Because you remember when we were doing the thing, I went East End with you. I protested there in town when we thought they were going to put a different kind of government in power. Remember? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
there were
listen, this is the point really that I'm asking you, is I'm trying to get to the bottom. This is the first time we're having a real honest conversation about this, is what is the issue? Because I feel like there's...
I think the issue is really I guess, siding with somebody else's view of you rather than me going ahead with the view that I had of you. I think that at that particular point, there is that I'll accept that's a weakness in me, and I accept that I shouldn't have done, because I think I understand that person's character much better now as being a very selfish, very manipulative type of individual. So I fell for that. And I'm weak in a lot of ways. I'll go along with somebody and be sympathetic towards somebody without completely examining them to make sure that they are who they say they are. I have that weakness. I'm very sort of spontaneous person. So I went along with that, and that's why that came. But I never ran away from the responsibility that it was my page, and therefore it was said on my page. But it wasn't. It wasn't.
Can I
it did
ask
not
you
express my opinion.
Can I ask you a question then, right? The person who, and I know you're not going to tell me who it is. I'm assuming you're not going to tell me. But is this person a politician? Can I just ask you that much?
No, this person is not a politician.
All right. No, because somebody is saying to me that they thought they knew who it was and they were naming a particular politician, but I didn't think so either. But I just wanted to.
No, the person is not a politician, but the person is a very clever person, has a lot of skills, I guess, that are incredible skills. And but like I said, I made my judgment was influenced by that particular type of narrative that person had, which gave me a different perspective on who you were and what you were all about, because somebody else's feeling, I guess, overrode what I felt originally. So I never really went too much about being blocked or anything like that, because it wasn't like I need to be in the conversation. I work all day researching and writing, so I got so much to be involved with in my own head, with my own research, that getting involved with the fray over there in Cayman after 46 years, it's not a challenge for me. It's not a challenge to go in there and beat nobody in no argument or make nobody feel bad. That's just not what I'm about at this particular point in my life. I try to share what I can share. And so I apologize. I apologize for the fact that I allowed this to happen, that I did not want to expose the person, and I will not expose the person because it's my fault and I have to take the blame for it. But I did not compose those things about you and your child and your husband, because I know your child. You invited me to your house. I know the party. I went for a party and all of that. So I admit that is so. And you know, I have always had to say that I admire you, but I am also saying that I am very sort of concerned when you attack like I attack, because what you do is you just turn around and boom, shout up somebody like that. And you know, sometimes one doesn't expect it, because even with the situation there with Chris, you know why I defended Chris. I defend people who I believe have talent. I defend people who I think that they would be good for the country. So I give them the benefit of the doubt until I no longer do so. I had a different relationship, of course, with your premier, Mr. Wayne Panton, who I tried to communicate with and who sort of bounced me off every time, because I think I have a lot that I can contribute in the area of crime. And also the area of immigration, which is something I think that is going to plague this country, because I think one of the things that is necessary is you have to have an idea of what immigration is all about. We travel already, know what it's about. We know it's a real phenomenon in the world, that it is either you're going outward or you're coming inward. It's either the push or the pull factor.
Can I just say something, Frank, right? So I think maybe this is the distinction between, and I'm really, really glad that we're having this conversation, because this is a critical distinction, right? So I don't take, nobody writes anything for me, and I don't take other people's opinions and form an opinion of somebody else based on their opinions. Now, if they bring me facts, if they bring me stories, and I'm going to say, well, you say this has happened, show me something to back that up. Like I was saying earlier in relation to even addressing Kenneth, right? My opinions, and this is an opinion-based show, but I try to base my opinions on factual things that I know and that have occurred. So even as it relates to Chris, I mean, Chris and I were friends. We can no longer be friends because his character, in my opinion, is flawed. That flawed character is based on things that I now know that he has done, and in particular in the last couple of years. So even when I was talking about his speech, you know, which is all playing political games, and I said to you, you know, I thought it was interesting how you approached him after his speech and went in, you know, showing your support, went up to him after in Parliament. It had obviously Parliament had broke for a break, but I was saying, I was just making sort of by the way comments. I wonder if you're aware of Chris, how Chris actually feels about you and the things that he has said about you. Because see, I'm not a person who can pretend. If I don't like you, you're gonna know I don't like you, right? I'm not gonna be skinning up in your face and yeah and laughing in your face and then trying to cut your throat from behind. I'm a very straightforward person. If I don't like you, you and I don't gel, whatever, you know it. There's no doubt in your mind. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna engage with you. Some people I don't engage with at all, but I'm not gonna break bread with them. I'm not gonna time from. Chris, on the other hand, is very duplicitous because, as I said in my comments, he has said things about you being the most ungrateful person he's ever met. And yet there he is shaking your hand and wanted to hug you up only because in that moment you were convenient for him to be used. And I don't like that kind of foolishness. And this is why I can't take politics.
I appreciate that about you. I lived in this country and with a lot of that. I had that with my cousin Steve McField. I would be off and on. I would like him, then I don't like him, and I like him, and I don't like him because he's the most selfish person that I've ever met.
Mm.
And I came back here on the same date with him and everything in 77. We came back together to fight together for the people's right and justice and all those sort of stuff. But you see, we have as Black people a problem. Like they can just be one. If we see another one that looks like us, that is good like us, we tear them down when we should be rejoicing and say, let's get a few more like this and put us together. We pull each other down.
Yes.
Now, I have taken and tolerated that for so long. Just when my mother died was when I made my mind up. I have to not see this man no more. I have to get rid of that feeling that I have to support him regardless when he's not ever supporting me. Maybe I will come to that position with Chris soon because I am definitely about people.
And let me also extend my condolences on the passing of your mother as well.
Well, thank you very much, Sandy. You know, it was like something that in my life was and my mother suffered a lot. My mother suffered a lot because of me, because of what I went through in this island. But I never gave up. I tried to get up like the phoenix all the time and keep going because I've always felt that I have something to share. If not with the people here, at least with other people. So the fact that I chose a different line of communicating, which means to challenge rather than to obey, was not just a problem for my mother, it was a problem for the entire island. And my mother suffered from that because my mother always knew what people were talking, what people were saying, and what they were saying about me and what they were thinking about me. And, you know, when I won the election in 96, which I think is really a story in itself, how people actually say the suffering of this boy is enough. Let's do something about it. And the Black people and the white people in South Sound gave me a break in 96. And I was able to get elected and I served 3 terms. And I always say to people, I served 2 terms and I always say to the people, I said, I did my best to help you if you can't appreciate it or not. And that is the truth. What I tried with everything, including buying the land at Ferdinand's farm for the prisoners, so we could have a prison farm, we could have a boot camp for the kids that failed at Bonaventure. The whole ideas that I just had ideas, and I had some good people like Mr. Cartney Banks and Miss Dorleen Whitaker that were very good in terms of helping me to push programs like for the Battered Women's Center and all of that. It's all my ideas, all my accomplishment. Battered Center for the Woman. It's named after Long Celia, but they don't want to say that because she was black. I have the problem with being black in this society because I love being black, but I do not hate people that are white. And that is a truth.
Mm.
And I learned that in America. I learned that the people that were good to me were the white people in high school, and they gave me a break. They taught me to play tennis. They taught me to go this place and go that place. And so I had good experiences. There's no way that I'm coming back to deny that, but I'm also coming back to say that there are white people that are not with people. They're colonizers, they're exploiters, and there are a lot of them here too. So I had to call them out as well. So I don't really have anything bad to say about you in that sense, because what you have done to raise the level of consciousness by going to the Mile Road, attracting people to the water there, and then purifying it as you rise with it. It's a good symbol of how grassroots people work in terms of building community and synergy and unity. And I would have been probably happier if you could run for politics, in fact, because that would really make it.
No,
a
I'm
big.
right where I'm supposed to be. But you know what? I appreciate the I feel like we've made a bit of a breakthrough this morning, so I certainly appreciate that. And what I would also say, right, if I could give you a little bit of advice, because I think there's a lot about you that I see and I understand. Maybe you don't even know that I understand a lot of the things that you say, maybe even some of your motivations and why you think certain things. But one of the things that I would say to you when it comes to the issue of color, it's an important, we've talked about it before, and it's an important discussion to have. But the one advice I would say is don't lead, and this might sound weird and bizarre, but this is how I'm going to word it. Don't lead with your blackness. Now, as a black man, that might sound bizarre. What I mean by that is when someone meets you, right? It shouldn't be, oh, I'm meeting Frank, the black man. It's no, I'm meeting Frank, who is a sociologist. He's a this, he's a that, playwright, all of these other things. That's what I think you need to lead with, because I think when you lead with your experiences, your hangups, your emotions, whatever around this race issue, people get a very different vibe from you entirely. We're all black. You know what I'm saying?
No, but Sandy,
So, and
as
maybe it's
I'm a
because your
race.
experiences have been.
No, I'm a race scholar. I'm a PhD race scholar. I'm a participant observer as a race scholar. I have written thousands of pages on race and religion and all of those types of how all these things are interconnected, and sexuality and all of those things. I was promoted by white people all through my career. I was brought by Thomas Russell, not by the people of this island. Because if it were not for him and Miss Margaret Percy fighting to get me here, they would never have given me the job. And once they gave me the job, then they still tried to undermine it. I'm saying that I am not what you think with regards to race.
Okay.
And but I think the discussion, when people are afraid of the discussion on race, because it's so complex, we never solve anything, because it has the religious aspect, it has the economic aspect, it has the social aspect, it has all of those aspects built into it, and especially the religious aspect that is built into it. Now, when we get to that particular level, people will understand that I have not wasted my time, because we're coming from a society that says that they're so religious. I went to Presbyterian church when I was a kid. It was obvious to me that Jesus was white, according to them. Why are you going to bring a black boy who's a descendant of slaves to worship a white Jesus, which is worshiping the master that he come from? So
Hmm.
if I want to talk about this, or I'm concerned about this because I lived in America, I lived in England, I lived in Germany, why is it a problem for the people who have never lived any place else besides the village?
Mm-hmm.
You see? So I'm saying to people, yeah, maybe my arguments and my considerations should have been kept by me staying in America or staying in London or staying in Germany someplace, but not coming back to the Cayman Islands. And then I look at them and I said, well, why do you think you all have lost your island? You lost your island because you did not understand the caste, the class, and the racial structure of modern civilization. And that what they were establishing here, especially establishing with by using the premise of money laundering and money lending, that had in it all of those ingredients to recreate that particular hierarchical structure here in the Cayman Islands, and not the one that we had when we were a failed plantation, when we were the island that time has forgotten far at the back of beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So the way in which the economic structures have changed, the social structure, the behaviors, and so forth and so on, it's very obvious in the Cayman Island. And I could not have found a better site in which to do field research for 46 years than Cayman Island, because it was small, manageable. I'd been born and raised here until 15, and it created the perfect research site to look at class, caste, and race and religion. So it's not that I'm not that I'm personal about race. I'm professional about it. I am part of Black liberation theology developments. I'm writing something about Martin Luther King, why King died, because I'm trying to publish my book for the 56th anniversary, death anniversary, assassination of Martin Luther King, and Memphis, Tennessee, because it's significant, because Memphis go back to Memphis, which is ancient Egypt, and Egypt was Black. And there's a lot of things that I'm talking about, the whole idea of Exodus and the enslavement and all that, which is mythology and not real history. And what is the significance of that in terms of Black liberation theology and how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves in terms of the issue of sharing one creator and so forth and so on. So I don't think that I mean to tell people that that's all I'm about is race, because that's not true, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
All right. So
But I appreciate you giving me the time
mm-hmm.
to even say these things, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous as hell right now. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I feel bad that I did that boo boo, that I actually went and allowed somebody to lead me in that particular path. And
So let me ask you a question. Did you ever remove it from your social media page?
It's removed.
I tried, but I don't know about social.
I think it might still be on Facebook, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that
So
we have,
you know.
that Sandy, make I tell you, I try. That
Uh-huh.
account that he have, because me and you is totally a different house. You know, me and you
Yes.
coming from a way back.
Yeah.
So I try and I advise him was to take it down. But that thing was a campaign page linked to his real personal page. So one thing you see Dr. Frank come up on where he was in a play, and the next thing you see where Dr. Frank come up on where he had a campaign page in the back on his profile. No, I tried to take it down several times. I sit with him and I can't get it down because he always posts up on the first of the page. So I don't know if he want me to actually eliminate the campaign page or what he want to do, because he really not even much on Facebook anymore. Right? He knows things that I come home and say to him. Like this morning, I'm the one watch your show every day. If I even at work, my supervisor catch me yesterday watching your show, and she was really like, I shouldn't have been watching it because I'm listening to it in a store, and customers is listening to it too. So I am not really supposed to doing that, but this is what I like to do. So I'm one that out there for you and always say,
Mm-hmm.
She bring it on as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now people would say no because she bring personal people business into it. But guess what? We all have personal business people
Mm-hmm.
into this and all of this. But I stand for, I can say 85% of the things that you said. I can't say the whole 100 because
Mm-hmm.
I know I does disagree, which everybody agree to disagree sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you maybe don't disagree, but when you're talking to the people and you hear how they go about Sandy, you just pull a little back and quiet down because then you know they're not on Sandy's side.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need them to know what side you want neither. If they want to publish out them side, that's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, I know who my husband is. We've been together for 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I know Frank feel bad about it. And people might not know, but Frank have a tendency of passionate about people, and he's easy to lead by people. And he go on one side today and he go on another side tomorrow. But we both are Libras, and these Libras tend to be not firm,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know him.
All right. So Dr. Frank, what I would recommend, just by way of a suggestion, because I was just having a look. I mean, I can't even remember all the stuff, right? But I was just having a look at your page, and this is the one with the black and white photo. And there's a thing around it that says action, climate, action. I don't know what language is on, but it says action, climate action. And then it's like in a couple different languages. So it's that specific account. You have 4.1 thousand friends, and there's a number of posts that you have there. And I think this is your active personal account, but there's a number of posts and rants that you have there going on and on about me, right? What I would say, and the first one goes back to September 6th of 2021 when you were blocked and you were upset that you were blocked from CMR. Now you were blocked from CMR. Like I said, you probably don't even remember it, but it was in relation to something that you said about COVID and the vaccine and some mixed information about a young person who had actually died, which was a very, very sensitive situation. So it wasn't really that you had disagreed with anything that I said. It was about other things that were going on in the background, and then your comments that were put on the CMR Facebook page that had to be removed in relation to that particular situation. It's so interesting because just this past week on Friday, a family member of that same person, it shows you how sometimes life can come full circle, actually needed to speak to me about something, and she apologized for the things that she said and how she went on, and she explained, you know what, it was just a very difficult time and so on and so forth. And I accepted her apology and we have moved on. I think that we all have to be bigger persons, and I never say never because things change, and people can feel different today, and 2 years later you feel different about a person or a situation. And I want to accept your apology today, Dr. Frank, from a really genuine and wholehearted place. But for me, the only way that the apology can be fully meaningful is if these posts, which, came from a negative place and misinformation, are actually removed. So I'm just asking you to consider it. I mean, I have searched just now while you were talking and I found them. And that's a matter for you, but I would say, if it's a genuine apology, it should come with certain actions as well.
Yeah, well, look, Sandy, I gotta say something. I am all for peace, but I'm a person that also have the capacity to tolerate war,
Mm-hmm.
because if what is fair is fair.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there were things that you said from your mouth
Mm-hmm.
about me and my being short, my being a crack addict, and all those sort of stuff that you could never withdraw. I'm a kind of person that I will negotiate so far with
Mm-hmm.
people, and then at that thing, then everything has to go the way they have to go. Because look, I don't know who it is because that have information about me shooting myself, because I think that that was one of the biggest injustices that happened when people are talking about shooting, when the damn police didn't do anything to investigate, because the police is all involved in the corruption. And I've indicated to you what has happened to me in the court system, also with my commercial case, with the fraud that was committed on the court by Campbell's law firm, by people like Clyde Allen, by Nova Hall, and all of those types of people. I mean, I got the documents. I have written things about these people, and nobody looks at it. So if I come and I say, I am not talking about how I got shot, because maybe I will get shot really bad, then somebody will say, hey, no, he got shot because of what? I would shoot myself. Why would the hell? I'm a McField. If I'm going to shoot, I'm going to shoot somebody. That's for damn sure. I'm not going to try to shoot my friggin' self. I hope everybody understands that. Okay? But what I'm saying is that my being shot pinpointed exactly the lead of the police involvement with the distribution of drugs in this country. Now, I go all the way back to the 1980s with Lee Rich and Sonny Hughes and all of those things down at the Galleon and all those places. I was around Jim Borden and all of those people. I understand this country. Those people that give me a hard time don't understand exactly how I understand, because I am a participant observer. That's why I took Sheldon Brown seriously. That's why I can still have people call me from Northwood and give me information that I think some of it would be very useful to you also. But I'm saying this to say, no, I was talked about in ways that hurt me. And that can't be withdrawn. That can't be taken down, what you said about me to people that already believe that my big problem is a drug problem rather than as a problem of aggression, because I live in a society where I see the parasite eating our people and eating me dearly, and I can't do anything about it. And I see those very people who come into this country to police the country and be the attendants at Northwood Prison using our misfortune to make themselves a posse.
But Frank, well, let me draw a distinction here, because there's quite a distinction, right? So a couple things. Number one, I never said anything to you that said anything about you that wasn't true. So I think it's common knowledge that you in the past, I'm not talking about today, in the past have struggled with drugs, right? And I also said that
no, well, I don't think that you are in the position as a host of a show to be talking about people's personal struggles to achieve a end that you are trying to achieve, because I find that not genuine. Because you're making your show, you're making your money, you're making your fame off of me. And I'm saying to you that I will go so far with you or anybody else, and then I will just turn the gun on myself.
Well,
okay?
No, I mean, I would have to go back and listen to the show, but I think when generally speaking, and again, I can't specifically recall exactly what was said about you in this moment, but generally speaking, when I talk about someone's history, it's to get to a point of, okay, this is where they're at now, and this is why perhaps some of this behavior makes sense. It's either talking about, let's remember from a historical perspective, what we're dealing with here, or we've gotten here because of, this has been the journey. Without going back and specifically listening to the things that I have said. And remember now, I've done a show just specifically addressing you, right? And nothing else. And I'm just trying to recall as best I can. I think it might have been one of those things where, again, you've made allegations, you've thrown things out there that actually were not true, right? The things that you said, and you said this morning that you just took it from somebody else, and
No, well, I mean, that's a difference between trying to litigate at this particular point, because that's basically what you're doing. You're litigating this situation. And I'm saying you are benefiting from it. Your radio station, your program is benefiting from it just by you doing this. So you have motives for doing this, regardless of what happens. You come out as the winner in this situation.
For doing
Now,
what? When you say doing this, what are you referring to when you say doing this?
Well, I mean, the talk that we're having is a pretty interesting talk, and it is
Mhm.
talking about things that people definitely want to hear about. I mean, probably me and your conversation is the most important conversation right now in the Cayman Islands, because and I'm saying this to you to say to you that yes, you have gained in doing this, because you have gotten me at least two, and probably a lot of help from my wife in terms of getting me to this position,
Mhm.
to be able to say, look, that was not my opinion of you. That was somebody else's opinion, and I allowed the person to use my site to push their opinion, which was a bad thing.
Mhm.
But obviously, I had to have probably agreed in some way. Otherwise, I would not have allowed it to happen. But it
Mhm.
was not something that I manufactured and put there.
Mhm.
Now, in the whole thing about me being a crackhead, and my being a drug addict, and my being just about everything, shoot myself and all those sort of things.
Mhm.
I
You never use pop.
I at this particular age of 75,
Mhm.
I don't really need to defend myself to any motherfuckers.
Mhm.
You understand me?
Mhm.
Because a lot of the problems that I had also was caused by the bad treatment that I got.
Mhm.
Now I come from New York, and so drugs were something. I was a good start.
Mhm.
So I would be a liar if I come and I said I don't know nothing about drugs. I never knew used drugs. But I also know the people that the priests them use drugs that created the religion that the people are worshiping today.
Mhm.
I know all of that.
Mhm.
So I am not going to come to at my age when I don't need the reputation. I don't need the reputation. Come to defend the reputation. What the hell I need a reputation for? If people war with me, they're gonna lose, because I don't need the reputation. I'm not
Mhm.
looking for nothing from the society. I've given up on it. I've given up on it because they would not even hand me the crumbs. And I
Mhm.
feel that, and I feel bad about that. But that didn't cause me to maybe do certain things. But when I was in the so-called drug realm, the criminal realm, the gang realm, the alcohol realm, and all of that sort of stuff,
Mhm.
yeah, that was not good for me. But I could tell you one thing: I come out knowing so much about that world, and how it's connected to the courts, how it's connected to the police, how it's connected to the politicians, that you would be damn surprised. And I've written about it. So yes, you could we could focus on the researcher, the real guy that played the real gangster, that wasn't really a gangster, that didn't have the card of a gangster, that understands who the real gangsters are in this country. It wasn't the Sheldon Browns and those people, because they couldn't exist without the other people in a high society. The guys that are operating today can't exist without the guys in the high society. So it's because the high society that we have the drugs. It's because the high society that we have drug addiction. And you all go and you try to make the guys who are taking the drugs the bad guys, when it's the guy who's making the money from the drugs that are the bad guys. The guys who are in the court system as judges that are protecting them, the prosecutors who are not bringing the cases against them. So I don't make fun of somebody if they were addicted to something that was
Well,
an illegal
I
and
don't
bad
think
stuff.
anybody was making fun of you. I think the distinction is I was not being dishonest. I mean, it might have been a little bit
But I
hard.
don't think that your intent was not to make me look good. That your intent was
Well,
to
of
make me
course it
look
wasn't.
bad.
It was to respond to what you had said.
Well, that's
And
what I'm
and
saying.
and and the misinformation, my apologies, that you had put out there about me. And so you have to accept, there is a distinction, there's a difference when someone is saying something about you that you might not like, but it is the truth, versus someone
Well, it's
making up
not a
stuff
truth. How you say it's a truth? How do you know it's a truth? Where
that
is your evidence?
you
What,
had issues with drugs. That's not true.
yeah, where's the evidence that you have?
I
You
mean,
heard that. You heard
Frank.
that from people.
Yes, but are you
Maybe
telling me that it's not true? Is that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying to me and you never did no drugs together.
That's not the point. Something can be true, and I don't have to have firsthand knowledge or experience about it. Just because we didn't do drugs together doesn't mean that you didn't do drugs.
Look, I like I said, I don't want to try to litigate it because that was
No,
my
I mean
point.
this
The
isn't
the
about
damage.
litigating. This is about, I think that we need to come to an understanding of how we got here. If we just
Well,
say,
I think
okay, let's just forgive and move on, but we don't have an understanding of how we got here, the next time something happens, we'll be right here again. So all I'm saying to you is let's understand how we got here. Let's understand why I even felt it necessary to address you in the first place. And it goes back to you saying completely erroneous things about me, a child, a minor child who at the time was all of like 4 or 5 years old, and about you saying stuff about my husband. That's how
Yeah,
I
but I mean,
then
I apologize.
responded and
I
made
say
those
that.
comments. But my point is, if those comments are still on social media, for me to really say, okay, I'm going to
Well, I can take
accept.
down the.
Well,
I
that's all
can
I'm
I can
saying.
get
That's
I
that's
can get
all that I'm saying. I'm
okay.
happy 2024 is right around the corner.
Mm,
Let's move forward with clarity of where we are and a mindset of forgiveness. But in order for me to do that, all I've said is those posts should be taken down.
Well, I don't have no problem with taking those
Okay.
posts down. That all those posts that we can get to, Silvana can find there. However, she does that is there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take them down. Because I don't even know those things in a way anymore.
Right.
Because I don't go through my my Facebook that way, not that thorough. I mean, I look at what's right in front of me, not anything else. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying this to say, Sandy, that with this whole question of domestic violence, abuse that we talked about at the Harkwell when they did my play downside up there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was that function again for international violence against violence or something?
Oh yes. Uh-huh.
You don't remember that?
Yeah, it's a number of years ago. I don't remember what it was
Yeah,
called, but yes.
you were videoing. You did
Yeah.
an interview with me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that particular point that I showed you. I said, "You see, they're doing my play
Mm-hmm.
for a domestic violence thing."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I talked to you, and I was shedding tears when you were interviewing me
Mm-hmm.
because I am still so impacted by domestic violence through my own family, my own father and mother situation that impacted me. I have never been afraid to talk about my emotional challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always tried to coach people and help people that have challenges with personal and social issues. And so I have identified with you in a lot of ways and with your courage to dig and to unveil certain things. But it is not so that people should just focus on what I have done wrong and never focus on what I have done right. Because that part of Cayman is the bad part that I don't like. The fact that people can only see where you fell down and buck your knee and
Mm-hmm.
a skinny knee. They can't see how you got up
Mm-hmm.
and the pride with which you got up and you started to run again. we are too interested in defeating each other. And if I have gone in terms of what I've said or done in regards to you, it's basically, it was a mechanism of defense, and it was therefore not rational. And because it was not rational, and I catch it at this particular point, I have a possibility to deal with it, to remove it. I shall do that. I will remove it. I will cancel those things. But I just wanted to leave you with the awareness of the fact that what happens to me if somebody says that this boy down the road is on crack cocaine, and they taking it as if it's makes the person an outcast and no longer a human being. And this is basically what people do. My brother told me once, my brother George, Pastor George, was in Vietnam. And he told me once, he said, never do crack cocaine. As far as I'm concerned, to my knowledge, I never did crack. Okay. Now, people think they don't kind of cope. The people here, the judges, I know several judges in Cayman that do snort cocaine. And nobody can tell me not true. Okay. I know the big guys in the law firm who stayed up nights and different things like that and snorted coke and do the thing, you know. But I don't remember recalls ever doing crack cocaine.
Okay.
And so when somebody comes and said, I said, okay, when you're drunk, you're high, you might never know what you do. So I will not go to the point to swear I never did it, but I'm not conscious of doing it. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And the way in which people discriminate against Black people who have drug issues, challenges, and the way in which they treat white people who have it is also that kind of disparity in the society. Or if a man has it, he's treated better than if a woman has it, for instance, and all of that sort of stuff. So I think that the focus in which people have had, the idea that people have had about me for a long time is, oh, you know, he's an old drug addict and he's an old this and he's an old nobody and no that, because that's a part of me that they might be able to identify with and know best, because they can't know the other part, the other sweet part, the intellectual part, the curiosity part. They don't know that. They don't want to know that. They don't want to see my plays. They don't want to support what I'm doing. All that thing. That hurts me. It hurts me because I lived in other societies that value what I did, who I am. And if I had stayed in those societies, I wouldn't have the problems that I have today. But you know what? I would not have learned as much as I learned in the Cayman Islands. I have been blessed with an experience where I could see things up close, feel them, and deal with them. Because sometimes I believe that this could be the most beautiful country in the world. And then at other times I believe, no, this is impossible. These people are just too hard-hearted and difficult. But now you're talking, so who knows?
Well, anything is possible.
Right.
You know, that's the beauty of, as long as you still have breath and you still have life, I suppose anything is possible. So
we can take up some of these other things. I don't know. This is on radio?
I don't know.
Is this on radio?
Well, we're still live. But your wife was listening to the show. That's why she called me, because of a comment she saw on the show. So we're not on radio, but we're live on social media, and there's still 300 people listening.
I know that we're on social media. But
radio ends at 10:30.
I know. I know we're on the thing but what I wanted to say even is that I'm gonna try to make it up with you and doing the right things to get you situated in terms of whatever you get down and everything.
She have you crying?
Yeah. and put it back there, because I don't know. I think that I mean, you have said about Chris, I guess, what I have not been willing to say, and that kind of hurt me, that you have somebody young and you have somebody that you look at that is young, look up to, and it's just not going to make the grade. And then you wonder, like I was wondering, I said, boy, I guess I'll have to go back and support them little boys from South Sound because
Well, I tell you how I feel about this. You give people a chance, I don't know if you heard me tell the story about sort of my political journey with Chris, but the first time he ran and he asked me for my support, I couldn't give my support because I saw things in his personality that made me pause and that gave me grave concern, including his ego and his inability to just be a humble person. He didn't speak to me again. Sometimes when you tell the truth, you make enemies, people stop talking to you. So he stopped talking to me for some time. And then before the election, after that, he came back and apologized and said, I think you were seeing some things that maybe I wasn't willing to admit. And I've made some changes. And, so the second time he ran, which that time he was successful, I voted for him. I gave him a chance. And okay. I voted for him in the last election. And then I saw this personality emerging again where he knows everything and he has all the answers. And more importantly than that part of it, because you can have an ego and still be a good person, all this other stuff, he's dishonest. And I can't stand a dishonest person. And not only is he dishonest, but he's doing things to other people in our community that are hurting those people, that are hurting women in particular in our community. His behaviors, and he is not willing to humble himself and admit that he even has a problem. And so collectively, anyone who can step foot in my house and tell a bold-faced lie to my face thought that I was going to believe it. They lose any degree of respect that I may have had for them. And so somebody said yesterday, he's all about sound bites, trying to convince people to vote for him. But I find that there's a lack of genuineness about even representing the people and just working hard and doing what you need to do. It's all about, I just need to get to that premiership and I'll do anything in order to do so. It's not about the people's business. So there's very specific reasons, and I haven't gone into a whole lot of detail, but there are very, very specific reasons why I have formed the opinion that I have of Chris, and it's really his own behavior. The behavior that he's not going to take any accountability for. Now, I can't tell you to have that same opinion of him because I think we all come to the water and to drink from it when we're ready.
But I think that you sound, genuine, and now it becomes more feasible for me to see it as evidence that is not refutable, because I try. Basically, I'm a person. I get bitten and I get bitten and I get bitten, and I don't seem to ever be shy, which is crazy. But what you said, because when Chris made promises to me when I went to see him after they were situated after the election in government, and he asked me basically what I wanted to do, and I said, I just want to write my books. I didn't want to go back to the university as writer in residence. That's all. And Tim Bernie was there, and that was 11 days after they were there. And then all of a sudden, nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. So now, when I heard this thing, there's something come out with getting a ticket for Joshua to come over and this and that and the other thing. And I just got a little sort of upset with the fact that he seems to be always evasive. You got to run after him for this and run after him for that, because I didn't.
And of course, you would know that I would not have known that story if I didn't get that directly from Chris. So that was no lie. That's not the kind of information that was out in the public domain whatsoever.
Yeah, well, that's what I find. I find it really incredible that he would have said that to anybody, because of the way in which we were handling it. Because it wasn't like I was begging him for it. It was like he was offering to do things for me at that particular time.
Mm.
And so Joshua never came because Joshua didn't have his certificate for vaccine, and that's the reason why he didn't come. So they didn't have to go ahead and get it for him again. That's what happened there. It wasn't about anything else, or at least. But so the fact that was never telling me the truth about how he felt about me asking him for anything or talking to him in any way is that comes out now. That's unfortunate because
Mm-hmm.
I felt at certain times, especially when this young man that was criticizing him on Facebook sought me out, and we had a like a little lunch at the Chinese restaurant there in the Strand. And the
Mm-hmm.
young boy told me a lot of things and a lot of things. So it's not like I never heard this and that and the other thing from other people, but I'm a person that if I believe that somebody is a good person, it takes a long time for me to give up on a person.
Mm.
And so I kept
And
on
let me
hoping and hoping.
even say this to you. You know, you talk about your interest in immigration and migration reform and that sort of thing. I mean, if Chris in particular, I'm not even going to say they, was really interested in utilizing your services in that regard, how was that not done when they could put people on the board who have no experience whatsoever with immigration? And in fact, they've actually put people on the board who have allegations against them for abusing and misusing the work permit system themselves. So why couldn't they have given you a chance and put you on those same boards?
Well, that's a good one, Sandy, because you see, with immigration, one of the things that we had to study in my discipline is that we had to study about migration.
Mm-hmm.
And we start thinking about the push factor and the pull factor and all of those things. Now, a lot of times, Caymanians believe that they could make it and run this boat by themselves. They can't because we're
Mm-hmm.
insufficient in numbers and also in the expertise that we need to have a diversified society and economy. Now, so what we have to do in terms of thinking about immigration policies is we have to not just take our bitterness or our fears and all of those things into account. We have to take also our circumstances as we will face in regards to social, economic, and political challenges as we go about building a society and maintaining it. So let's take the feelings out of it because we can't get what we feel like. And this is something that is difficult sometimes for us as human beings to realize that we can't always get what we feel like. And what we feel like might not always be the best because we have been socialized. But because we've been socialized, we might not be perfect because socialization is geared towards achieving individual ends that might not be ideal. So we have to take that into account when we're talking about immigration and immigration policy and immigration strategy. Who are we? What are our ideals? What do we feel that we can give, and what do we feel that we need to get from a an enterprise, a venture? The venture that we're talking about is the modernization of the Cayman Islands into a gigantic sort of Caribbean state that is wealthy, that is prosperous, and that has a good social, economic, and political system that is
Mm-hmm.
stable in all the ways. So we have to put our ideals on the table, and then we have to have our well, I want this, and I want that, and then we have to look to see that we can't all get what we want. So we have to mix this, and we have to make compromises, and so we just don't need people on the immigration board and on dealing with immigration law that are hard headed and say, I don't want no foreigners here. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want this here, and I want that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's going to destroy your country if you lead it in that particular way. We
Mm-hmm.
have to understand history, in other words, to understand the compromises that we need to be
Mm-hmm.
making now.
Well, Dr.
Yeah.
Frank, I hear my dog Zeus barking, which means that he has to go to the bathroom. He's in his kennel. We've been talking now for almost an hour and 5 minutes. People seem to still be hanging on. Johan says that this is like a drug. I want to stop watching, but I cannot. Oh my goodness.
Go ahead.
So we have still almost 300 people in the live stream between YouTube, Facebook. So I appreciate them hanging in there. Aliano jokingly says we're almost at high noon now. So we'll be continuing the conversation then. But I do have to let Zeus out because poor thing, he's been very quiet.
Yeah.
So I know when he starts barking, that means he's ready for bathroom break. But
Well, I will take up. I will take up communication with you on a private line,
yes. All right.
and we will start out and see how we clean this
Well, I
thing
guess
up.
I guess we can thank Sylvana this morning for making the phone call that made this all possible.
He's right here on the list.
I love peace. I don't love quarrel. And I know Frank suffering because me and him two in a house here.
Uh-huh.
And I watch him cry. I watch him depressed. I watch him stand up. I watch him sit down. For all I work, but I am here with him. As I don't work, I come home. So I know the tears in the eye. I feel it. And I cry for him because I never see he teach me a lot, and I always say if he teach me a lot, he teach my son that is in California a lot.
Mhm.
People can learn from him, but I do not like to when they treat him bad, and that's just normal as a wife. And I know he don't deserve it. When he deserve it, I myself make up my face on him and I said, "You think you need to go this way with Sandy? Don't do it or take it down." You remember? I used to work for her. I used to be in her house. I know her. I love her. I don't care what you said. So that is the argument that we have. So for a happy wife is a happy life. So for be happy, for I can watch you in peace and him be happy with you. And this new year come in bright and towards your success and him getting out what he wants is book. We can make a change in not doing the wrong thing, doing the right things.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you so much, my dear. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
They're high spirits, Sandy. You're protected.
I appreciate
Be
that.
blessed.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one. And Merry Christmas when it comes.
Merry Christmas.